Senator Stern.
Thank you, Madam President. I wasn't going to get up and speak. I've been trying to do my homework on this legislation and appreciate the compelling remarks given from the senator from Irvine and Santa Barbara here. I think there are some compelling arguments, and to be honest, I wrestled mightily with this bill, specifically because of some of the circumstances that the senator from Irvine raised. I represent Simi Valley, and I'd be remiss to pass any legislation that let another Rodney King verdict be more likely. It was deeply concerning to me that in some ways we would hand our prosecutors a different set of tools, say, than our public defenders, and inhibit our ability to get more people of color, women, and other protected classes onto juries. In the course of the diligence on this legislation, though, and going through it, what I really learned is that this bill will have major impact on how DAs and public defenders deal with their voir dire in these cases. I don't think the sponsors or the author dispute that. But what I've come to the conclusion is that you're going to have to be more creative than simply using race as a factor when you're doing those peremptory challenges. If you're prosecuting a hate crime, or if you're prosecuting an unauthorized use of force, you're going to have to find some other reason to bump that juror other than the fact that they are white. And that's a good thing. We shouldn't be discriminating against jurors because they're white and we assume that they're going to be just standing up for someone who would perpetrate a hate crime, just like we shouldn't be discriminating against jurors because they're black or they're a woman. People have their own independent judgments. I think that this bill still affords those tools of peremptory challenges, not just to prosecution, but also to public defenders. Now, mind you, public defenders under this legislation also will be barred from using race as a factor if they're pushing forward a peremptory challenge. And that threshold, what they call de novo review, that'll be scrutinized very carefully. I think the net result may very well be the pressure builds such that the Supreme Court justice and that counsel that we've talked about here today has a fire lit under them, and that they actually have to hustle up and do some work right now. I don't think we can wait till 2022 to start making juries more fair. I don't think we can wait till 2022 to work through a set of guidelines. I realize that this bill is aggressive and it's going to force change. But I'm really compelled by this moment and realizing that the judiciary is an incredibly functional and critical branch. It is not broken, but it is our job to step in and decide these tough policy questions, whether you're white or black, or you're a woman or a man. I happen to be a white man, and I live in Calabasas, and yet I still think that there are fundamental injustices in this system that happen to people every day. So when you vote on this measure, know that you are going to be causing a ripple effect in our justice system. DAs will prosecute their cases differently, and they'll stop and think for a second about how they're making that argument. And there will be a lot of second guessing of oneself. And I think that's a good thing, to recognize that people have implicit biases and to really wrestle with that and to look over your shoulder to know that this legislature is watching, to me is a critical function that this body, not the judicial branch that interprets law, but this body that does the people's will, has to step in and lead on. So, with much diligence and a tough deliberation process here, I'm going to be supporting this measure today. And I think that if there is evidence that it doesn't work, or if the Judicial Council steps in, or there is some new set of guidelines, so be it. They can step in and we can amend this law. But for right now, I think we can't afford to wait. The urgency of this moment calls for it. And with that, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.